Resident Evil 9 is in the top 5, maybe even top 3 Resident Evil games of all time. And what I love about it is it nostalgia baits you and it actually earns it. Normally when games or movies do that, it doesn't work. I just saw Scream 7 this weekend and it heavily relied on bringing back characters from prior movies just to get people to watch, and sometimes that stuff ends up completely falling flat, just like Scream 7 did. Or even in the Resident Evil world, look at Resident Evil 3 Remake. I mean, man, that was a major fucking letdown. But with Resident Evil 9, we saw in the trailers exactly what they were teasing. Leon, the chainsaw enemy, Resident Evil 7 style horror, mixed with Resident Evil 4 gameplay. And I'm really glad to say this game lives up to all of it, and then some. So I'm going to break this video into 4 easy sections. First up, we got Grace, okay? Resident Evil 7 was scary, Resident Evil 8 was even scarier, and the reason those games worked wasn't cheap jump scares. It was atmosphere, man. Resident Evil 9 does that same thing, but even better. There are enemies you can fight, but like there are also enemies where you absolutely need to run and hide. It reminds me of like Mr. X in Resident Evil 2, except honestly, it's even more intense because you actually have to sneak around these things. Grace's gameplay feels like the best parts of Resident Evil 7 and 8 combined, and sometimes it gets like dollhouse level scary, just like Village. This might actually be the first Resident Evil game where I genuinely got freaked out. At one point, this huge monster came out of nowhere, and I just fucking jumped up and fucking shot that thing. Like, I have never done that with any other game ever. Grace herself is also a much better character than Ethan. She's terrified, and sometimes you can actually feel her anxiety through the screen. Her gameplay mostly plays like Resident Evil 7, except you get this like injector mechanic, and I'm not honestly a huge fan of that, but like the sneaking around enemies, managing your ammo, and slowly building up enough supplies to finally clear rooms, that part was a lot of fun. Now for Leon. Leon's gameplay feels a lot like Resident Evil 4, but I'd actually say it's probably even better. It's not because you can pick up chainsaws and have ridiculous chainsaw fights. The real reason is the hatchet mechanic. At least that is for me, I'd say. In Resident Evil 4, you constantly had to find new knives around the environment because they would break, and that shit pissed me off so much, man. If you have a fucking knife, you're going to the middle of nowhere, and you're bringing a fucking knife to just for it to break, and you have to find new ones in the environment, like, well, who the fuck does that? This one does it even better. In Resident Evil 9, you can keep using the hatchet again and again. Technically, it can break, but you can use it way more freely, and you can even just straight up melee enemies with it, kind of like more in Resident Evil 6. Now, we'll say Leon's guns aren't the most memorable in the series, but like the action itself is really fun. It still feels very like Resident Evil. The game goes back and forth between Grace and Leon instead of having completely separate story campaigns like Resident Evil 2. That could feel jarring, going from like stealth horror gameplay to action gameplay, but honestly, I didn't mind that. Like, I actually like linear gameplay, and both characters are fun to play in their own way, so the switching never really bothered me. The story-wise, it's actually surprisingly good. I was worried it might even get kind of convoluted because like in Resident Evil 7 and 8, they're branching off the original story and saying that certain things secretly happened with Spencer that led to this storyline. Honestly, I didn't hate it. It's definitely not like Dexter Resurrection levels of retcon, at least not that I noticed. Overall, it's just a really fun ride. My only real complaint is the main villain. We get this big bad who's supposed to be even meaner than Victor, and the game kind of dangles him like he's going to be the next Wesker, but he never really gets explored enough, which was honestly kind of disappointing. As for my final thoughts on all of it, if you're wondering whether you should pick up this game, you probably should have picked it up already, like I'm just going to be honest with you. I've been a Resident Evil fan since I was a kid, and this game really feels like it just has everything. The puzzles, the horror, the action, man, it's honestly an amazing blend of everything Resident Evil is supposed to be. And yes, we even got Leon's one-liners. If you want to hear more about the game, let me know. I might even speedrun it depending on how long the world record times are. I don't really like speedrunning anything over an hour, but if you stayed this long, like, subscribe, and comment your favorite Resident Evil character.